You're very welcome to Raise Ventures. Today we're chatting about the 5Ms with Kris Jones from Tech Velocity, looking at a real impactful slide that startups can create to make the best impact for their business when pitching for investment. I'm going to hand over to Kris to run us through the presentation for today.
Hi all. Before I run through the slides, thanks for setting the scene. And one thing I will do before anybody moves into any breakout session as well is I'll post a link to the slides as well, so you can actually use them as reference, because obviously the one thing I'll be doing is whizzing through it a little bit and giving you a flavour of what it is. Quick couple of minutes, I guess, for Q&A. You'll have the slides then to refer to when you go through your breakout, so you've got some examples to work with then as well, and some idea of what you're going to be trying to map out. Just going to share screen.
Is it open there?
Yeah.
Good old Zoom.
The problem with coming straight from work is I still have 5 billion tabs.
Yep, that's it.
Can you all see that okay? So, impact slide. It's based around the 5Ms. Let's shrink this down. I don't need to see me. So, it's a way of delivering to an investor, either via a pitch deck that you're going to send or deliver virtually or in person, the key things that they're going to find in that deck when they read through it. Now, psychologically, when somebody's either reading a pitch or listening to a pitch, watching a pitch, the first 90 seconds are when you get peak interest. Anything that else that happens after that, you're getting a diluted form of interest. So the impact slide was born out of tracking some of the best decks that have gone on to gain investment and advice from the likes of PwC's own Raise program and some other accelerators and incubators in the US that have gone on to get companies through to Series A standard on a regular basis. So what it incorporates is something called the 5Ms, and it's not in the traditional sense. 5Ms, if you ever studied those in the past, have been linked to sort of productivity and machinery and the output of factories and other traditional businesses. So this has been tailored more to tech businesses and bringing it screaming into the 21st century. So the 5Ms are based around your momentum. So it comes down to your traction and other stuff that you really want to show off that your startup is actually going places and that it's got customers, LOIs, MOUs, those kind of things. The market, and what you're aiming at here is just a headline total addressable market. What you're trying to allude to here is the total size of the market, because in the eyes of VCs in particular, and as we see more and more angels clamp themselves into syndicates rather than being lone wolves, that headline figure of how big that total addressable market is becomes more and more key, and they use that as a benchmark as their investment criteria. And if it's something that you plan on going through to VC level with, ideally you want to be looking at TAM of around $10 billion, which I can explain more of another time, and how you can actually reach those figures and how you can delve into those figures to make sure you got the right TAM. The machine, so what the actual platform is and what it does and why it's different in very simple terms. The management, so what you're looking at here is a chance to show off in one line. So what you're looking for here is things like domain experience and so on, and the money. So what you're looking to do there is cover off exactly what that money's going to be used for, but actually delivering an ROI behind it. Starting with a mission statement as well. And again, this is where you're trying to encapsulate who you are and what you're about in one sentence. So Forbes, but the 4 fundamental questions you need to answer in a mission statement is: what do we do? How do we do it? Who do we do it for? And what value are we bringing? Amazon's is easy, so I used it as an example because obviously everyone's their bloody customer. So theirs is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, where customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online. We can't all afford to be this grandiose, and most investors would turn around and say, no, I want to know exactly who your customer avatar is, who are you aiming at? But as a generic example, what it includes within there is who they're actually doing it for, Earth, and the actual machinery behind it and how we do it. The mechanism is building a company where customers can find and discover anything they want to might buy online. And the value they're bringing is that customer centricity and ability to get whatever they want whenever they want to. And the what do we do is obviously the ability to buy whatever they want online. Then it comes back always to the Simon Sinek video, and I don't know how many of you have seen this video, but if you haven't, then it's absolutely fantastic. It's his why video, and it's all centered around the hypothesis that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I mean, if you look at somebody like Apple as an example, all they actually are is a device manufacturer. But what they're creating around it is an ease of access to technology and creating that buzz around it being that latest piece of technology that everybody wanted to buy into. That seems to have slipped, obviously, but so many people at its peak used to hang on for those announcements from Steve Jobs every time he'd come out with them pre-product launch. So we'll move on to your momentum. And what we're touching on here is a fairly simple thing if you're at a pre-seed stage. What you're actually looking to convey within this is, since we set up, these are the boxes we've ticked, and you make them relevant to what, again, an investor's wanting to see. So if it's a pre-seed level, what they want to see is that you have some proof of concept, that you either have some customers, MOUs with recognized companies or letters of intent, or you've sort of brought on X amount of beta users, you've got X amount of social engagement, anything that can validate your hypotheses around your vision goes in here. And particularly if you've gained any funding to date, you can tick off a couple of those boxes. So an example or two sat there is, since beta launch in January, we built our MVP, onboarded our first 5 paying customers, and have MOUs with 3 national companies. Now, in the mind of an investor, what they've seen there is that you can execute and build a platform, that you've got somebody to actually pay for your product, and that you've got memorandum of understanding with large companies to come buy your product as well. So it shows that you've executed, built it, sold it, and you have future revenue from big companies. So it just dangles everything out in one line. Market. I've done a separate module, which maybe we can come back to another time, in terms of working out your TAM. And you can sometimes drop the TAM into other lines as well, which I'll come to in another practical example further down the line. But what you're trying to allude to here is the size of that market and how many people you could actually sell to. So we're aiming our solution at the 100 million gaming laptop users globally. So it kind of gives an idea of scale. And the machine. So it's tempting, particularly when you're an early stage startup, to tell everyone how whizzy the thing is that you built and featured them, and tell them how much of a slog it's been and what a journey it's been. You've got to stay away from that and keep it to the simple parts of the journey. You've covered your heart and soul in that one-line mission statement. So what you're trying to do here is try and just simply put across what your platform or product does. So our technology enables people to track soil quality using our sophisticated IoT devices and simple platform. So within that sentence, again, what it's conveying is that it's Internet of Things. So it's hardware, it's in ag tech, but could have many, many uses across different industries, and simple platform, because what you're conveying there is, again, that you know that a lot of the users that could use something like that may not necessarily be the most techy in the world. So again, you've ticked off a load of boxes. So in the buzzword bingo that an investor's looking for, they've ticked a couple of boxes. Again, if they're into IoT, they've gone, yeah, I like that. But they've also seen platforms. So even if they're not into IoT, it may pique their interest to hang around just to see what the platform does. And management. Again, investors have this ideal picture of what they want to see from a founding team. I guess the highest level that they'd like is somebody that's actually had a startup before, raised funding before, and exited before. But if you've done any one of those three, that's fantastic as well. That definitely ticks a big box in their mind, and that doesn't matter whether it's a lifestyle business or a tech business. If you've been there and done it before, it's a big tick in the box. Otherwise, what you're aiming for here is to demonstrate domain experience and expertise. So obviously, if you're launching a product in the accountancy sector or security sector, you want to say that collectively people have 20 years experience within the team, and countless contacts, and X amount of technical experience as well. Mentioning a technical founder being on board at that stage is always useful. Money, again, simple. What they want to know at this stage as a hook is that you're raising how much, and is it EIS or SEIS, and what is that money going to achieve? And that's the simple breakdown. How much is the tax relief? What is the outcome? What is that going to deliver within that period? So once they have that hook, as you can imagine, it almost acts as the most briefest of exec summaries. And what you're doing is saving time, particularly if you're pitching at VCs or busy angels. Most of them are inundated. So by the time they get to slide 2 and they see, well, that ticks my box, I like that, I like that, I like that, it's an encouragement to read on. So any questions on that little bit? Hello.
It's probably going to take a while to melt in and think about what each company is going to put into each piece. But I think, do you have an example there, Kris?
What's that?
Do you have an example?
I have a complete example, yeah. So we'll cover that one off. So when we think about what would that look like ideally on a slide, and as I've mentioned before, don't panic, because I will send these slides for you to read through in your own time. It's a lot to keep up with, somebody delivering all this. But what we're trying to create with this as well is that fear of missing out. So they want to watch the rest of the pitch, so that they can delve deeper, because you've delivered headlines that are really going to pique interest and tick boxes. So you want to make them more likely to read through the rest and find out how you're going to deliver that stuff. So I did an example behind Magic Source. So the mission is to enable startup founders and investors of all backgrounds to get the best knowledge and materials they need to achieve their goals. So from a mission perspective, it's what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and what it provides, all in one sentence. From a traction perspective, obviously it's saying that this is the amount of revenue that's come up in year one, which is proof of concept, and that there's execution because an MVP has been launched. Then move on to the actual machinery of it, the thing that will deliver it, what it does and how it does it. Because we know AI and ML is definitely still a buzzword amongst investors. Our AI ML rich platform will enable the global market, so I snuck the TAM in there, of founders and investors to get access to the best curated and original data, products and content on the web to do what they do best, freeing up time and reducing risk for all. So it's covered the delivery method of the platform itself without giving too much of the IP away as well, or how that solution will be delivered. Our team has helped startups raise 25 million the last 3 years. So one of the founding team of Magic Source had an exit under his belt. So we obviously threw that in there as well. And that we've helped other people raise money. That figure's gone up now as well. So you can tell it's a wee bit old. What we raising the money for, so it's 300K under SEIS and EIS to reach 1 million revenue in year one. Really simple again, but what it cooks into the mind of an investor is, well, that's pretty ambitious. So how are they going to achieve that with 300K? And you can obviously throw in any successes there as well. So if you've won any awards, been nominated for anything prestigious, throw it in there too, because it just kind of underpins it. So as much as those previous slides made it look like you have to write a massive essay for the impact slide, as you can see by the example, it's 5 simple bullet points, and it tells them pretty much everything they'd want to know at the outset to at least make a decision on whether they want to read on.
I think it's really clear, and I think, you know, the third point there is what you do, but also the benefit, the value add. We see a lot of decks do the what you do, but don't say, well, what value will that add to the customer? You know, freeing up time, reducing risk, you know, saving costs, whatever it might be, making life easy. I think that's really a valuable piece as well.
Absolutely. If you can mention ROI or anything like that, that stage, it's kind of nice.
Kris, what do you think of comparisons such as, I actually once said this to a major investor, we're the Square for serious retailers?
Good. I've always been a neophile.
I thought I've been back to San Francisco since. I think they cancelled my visa. But yeah, what do you think of those sorts of comparisons? I've always struggled with them personally.
I dropped down the solutions slide personally, but I've always been a neophile. If you can seed something into consciousness to give them an idea of what you're doing, what you need to do, the reason I drop it into the solution slide or even the why now slide, the competition slide, is because you can say, we are this for this. Absolutely. Or we are the new this. So if you can then go on to tell people why it's better or cheaper or both, then validated using that neophyte approach.
My observation was I think it's a real cultural difference between certainly people in the UK and people in the US, because when people in the UK say, yeah, we're the Square for X, everyone laughs. Americans take that stuff very seriously. They're like, why is everyone laughing? It's like, yeah, because it's ludicrous, right? Why is it ludicrous? Okay, all right, cultural difference, let's just move on. But yeah, I've always struggled with it. And
that's risk versus aspiration though, isn't it?
Yes, but also humor, also self-effacing, which is a terrible thing in pitch decks. You know, that's the worst thing ever. We took a Northern Irish roadshow, the US. I got my head handed to me at Stanford. Other guys dotted around the place, and everyone was making jokes in their pitch decks. And then we went to an American pitch after it, and no, couldn't have been more different. Just an observation.
Yeah, I got to be honest. The pitches I've put together so far, that people have taken to America, and vice versa, generally been well received. So yeah, they've the only time they've laughed is for the deliberate humor in there, thankfully. But yeah, you've got to be careful even with how that humor travels, because I know obviously the Celtic sense of humor can be dark and dry.
I just think don't do it unless you're really good at it. You know, which I've never seen anyone who's really good at it. You know, you can't do stand up in your pitch. Don't work. Just doesn't work for me anyway.
I've tried that as well, and that doesn't go down a storm either because they think you're a clown. So did try that once with a previous product, and they said it's the most entertaining pitch I've ever seen, but I've still no fucking idea what your product does.
That said to me over dinner, I'd rather you were the most boring guy in the world that was going to make me money than the most interesting guy in the world that was going to lose my money. And I'm like, gotcha. All right, thanks.
That's why we'd obviously try and build that interest and excitement early doors as well, is just to try and get that hook to get people to read on. Because if you're seeing pitches all day, every day, this is why a lot of VCs just ask for an exec summary in the first instance as well, is because they're just bored of reading through pitches. Whereas opposite end of the scale, you get somebody like Hatch. There's syndicates, English syndicates, and they tell you that they'd rather a 20-slide deck with one sentence on each. So these things are all subjective, but if you can put together an impact slide which kind of shows that nice bit of leg, hairy, male or female otherwise, then I think it offers people that early opportunity to know what's in the rest of the deck and know what to read on.
Brilliant. I think that's a really good summary, and on the back of today we're going to write up a blog and post it on our website as well. So we're going to finish up this part of the session and move into breakout rooms. I'm going to hit pause.